for Greg on this unique episode of GutFeld. But the most shocking thing isn't how she changed. The event took place just hours before she gave birth to their first child. Because of how strange it all was, she said it was a miracle that could have saved her life. That's where Kat Timpf was born, on October 29, 1988. Daniel, her dad, worked long times in the factory to make sure there was food for everyone. By that time, more than 250,000 people had already left Detroit, and jobs were going away. The Timpfs lived in Wixom, and just about got by. Kat saw her tired dad come home every night. He had grease on his hands and was tired. And Marie, her mother, was one of 8 children in a large Polish Catholic family. The house was always short on money but full of love. Kat knew firsthand what it was like to struggle financially as a child. It was something that stuck with her. Things got worse at school. Kat was picked on all the time. The kids made fun of her because she was loud and different. People threw food at her. Group projects didn't pay attention to her. When she was 5 years old, she was given amphetamines for ADHD. She stayed on them for 30 years, until she got pregnant in 2024. That's how bad her fight was. She began hurting herself to deal with her stress. The worst part was that the teachers did nothing while seeing everything. She quickly learned that being quiet did not keep you safe. That's why she's always stood up for free speech. Words protected her. Reading and writing were safe places for her. That was all she had. Things began to shift at Mackham's Lutheran High School, North. Out of the 560 kids, only 161 were paired with a teacher. That small space was helpful. She joined the school paper and the acting group. She used her pain to make jokes on stage and write columns. She didn't fit in anymore, but she could speak up now. People laughed at her, often in an uncomfortable way. She got good grades and found her groove even though she had been through a lot of pain. She started to figure out who she really was, even though the school's Christian roots were at odds with her political ideas. She had never been out in the dark before this. Then 2014 came along. It hurt her. And Marie, her mother, was told she had heart amyloidosis. 1 in 100,000 people get this very rare disease. It was too late for the doctors because they kept getting it wrong. She only had 3 weeks left after they found out what was going on. She passed away at age 57. Kat, who was only 26, slept on a yoga mat in a very small room in California. She had several jobs and was broke and upset. The death of her mother broke her heart. That hurt never went away. In the end, she would make fun of it online on Mother's Day. But the truth behind those jokes was too painful to bear. She kept going through it all. She went to Hillsdale College from 2006 to 2010. After many years of hard work, she earned a degree in English. She became a Chi Omega. She wrote for the school paper. She went to England to study. She worked as an intern at the Detroit News. Their family couldn't pay for college, so she worked full-time to stay registered. It was still hard to get jobs in 2010, but she finished anyway. Her schooling at Hillsdale made her voice clearer and helped her form her political views. Her whole job was a mix of writing, playing, and being free. She did a work study at KFI-AM 640 in Los Angeles in 2012. She reported on traffic in a chopper every morning at 4 a.m., but she couldn't figure out what to do. That was the whole job. They fired her. The unpaid job was important for her to stay alive. To make things legal, she went to a nearby community college. She didn't take any days off for 4 months. Early morning traffic reporting, a job at a radio station until 4 p.m., and diner shifts until 2 a.m. She wasn't stopping even though she was tired. She was hired by Campus Reform in 2013. She wrote about restrictions and protests at college. In her books, silly rules like getting rid of a camel from a petting zoo or a fiesta fundraiser because of one word. She found out that free speech was dying on college campuses by being very smart. It wasn't just stories. She did them to fight back against the quiet home life she had grown up in. But the media didn't want her. Because of California labor rules, her unpaid internship at Fox News came to an end. The driving job she had was gone. She lost both her car and her apartment. She drove along the California coast, trying to get into radio rooms. They liked her voice but didn't give her anything. She begged to be in a short story in the Washington Times. She asked for mic time over and over. They finally gave her 2 minutes. She showed that she could do something that no one else could. For her, those 2 minutes were the start. During that time she was by herself in LA, her boyfriend broke up with her. She didn't have anyone, so she got up. She found comfort in open mic nights. People laughed when she talked about breakups and being alone. Not all the time. She bombed hard sometimes. It was not always funny to make jokes about feminism. That's how long she would stand there in hate and quiet. But it taught her how to time. She learned how to read a room from it. That failure helped her get better. She got a job at International Business Times in 2014. There was a lot of government red tape that she wrote about. A Robert Novak Journalism Fellowship was given to her in 2012. Her project was all about how the laws in California could affect the whole country. She was taken seriously after that. Both Investors Business Daily and National Review hired her to write for them. For her conservative voice, she made the 30 under 30 list. That was all because they didn't give up. She finally made it through on May 31, 2015. She was on Fox News' The Greg Gutfeld Show. People loved her first line. She said it was rude for famous people to talk about climate change while flying privately. It gets over 50,000 shares a day, she said, which is more than brain cells. Some people noticed. Ratings showed that people watched just for her. Fox hired her full-time after 3 months. 23% more people watched her parts than most others. She was more than funny. She was loud enough to be heard. Fox made her a co-host on Fox News Specialists in 2017. It began on May 1st. Eric Bolling and Ebony K. Williams and her libertarian ideas were always at odds with each other. After Charlottesville, things got very heated. She said that Trump's answer was wrong and that white racists were all bad people. There were 1.8 million watchers. The show was great, but it was over quickly. That same day, on September 8, 2017, Bolling was fired for sexual misbehavior. The show was over. Kat was not told what to do. Beginning in May 2019, she began her show Sincerely Kat on Fox Nation. It wasn't meant to be serious. It turned raw instead. She talked about having anxiety, eating problems, and even the death of her father. In one show, she took off her fake eyelashes, hair, and glasses in front of the camera and said, "None of this is real." 2.3 million people watched that show. People who watched saw a real person breaking down walls. It quickly became Fox Nation's second most watched real show. Kat was ready when Gutfeld came out in April 2021. On the first day, 1.69 million people watched the show. At its peak in January 2022, it was 2.12 million. Her jokes about cancel culture got a lot of attention. In September 2021, she said that cancel culture was a hobby for people who didn't have any other hobbies. 8.4 million people saw that one line. Then it was September 18, 2024. Trump showed up. 4.9 million people watched the show. She walked right up to him. Still fun and still sharp. She became the most watched woman on late-night TV. She was scared the most, though, years before that. A man came into Union Pool in Brooklyn on July 24, 2017, found her, and dumped a full bottle of water on her head. From far away, he watched her, then struck her, and then he was gone in less than 90 seconds. That night, she couldn't give her message. It was an attack on changing the way criminal justice works. Shut her up. She wrote on Twitter, "This wasn't just some drunk guy." More than 45,000 people shared that tweet again. To protect herself, she wouldn't leave the house for months. The man was never caught, but what she went through changed her. Kat Timpf's rise wasn't just a surprise. It was like someone had opened a very sealed letter in the middle of a quiet room. You can't joke about that. Her first book came out on April 18, 2023, and went straight to the top of the Amazon charts. After only a few weeks, she made the New York Times top list and stayed there for 3 weeks. People were shocked by more than just the sales. It was the words. It wasn't scary for her to write about rape jokes, cancer, parents who had died, or cancel society. She found stories that most people had hidden away and made them funny. She used a 2019 study to show that 40% of Americans were already limiting what they said out of fear. That number wasn't just there. It held everything together. It was clear from her book what it meant to still speak out. Then, in September 2024, I Used to Like You Until, her second book, came out. It made the New York Times list again. This time, though, people did more than just raise an ear. They threw down their phones. This part of the book shocked me the most. Was about a woman she went out with. They broke up not because of politics or faith, but because of the woman's mother, who was a very progressive gender studies professor. She didn't want her daughter to date someone from Fox News. She made it clear in her writing that she doesn't want to be called straight. That line sent shockwaves through both right and liberal groups. After that, in September 2024, she went on Joe Rogan's show to talk about everything. A lot of people watched the show. The cat had been in trouble before. Since 2014, she had been writing for National Review. People were already yelling about her early articles. Her criticism of colleges that hold blow-job workshops while also promoting victim stories was clear in one. She said that Hillary Clinton couldn't call herself a feminist while putting down Bill's accusations in another. Not only did people respond to her ideas, they were very angry, but she wouldn't stop. How Feminism Works, a piece she wrote in 2015, started a discussion that went on for weeks. She became someone who people either wanted to quote or call off. The Kat Timpf Show, her show, began in November 2016, not 2020. Like some people think, and it became her time to pull back the curtain. She talked about how Accutane hurt her mental health in one show. People wrote in to say how low she felt. When asked if she still wanted to be on TV, she said she hated herself more than anyone else could. She talked about having OCD, nervousness, and her mom's death. She used comedy as her only escape, and it was honest. Her lack of polish was what drew people to her. On July 24, 2017, things got real. She was in Brooklyn's Union Pool getting ready to talk for her friend Ben Kissel's campaign. Someone didn't just walk up to her, tap her on the shoulder, and dump a 1.5-liter bottle of water on her. He had come to find her. She had to pull out of her speech. She said it made her feel like she wasn't allowed to be out in public. He went after her because of her job, as shown by surveillance. It was a 28-year-old woman who was soaked and quiet. People had come after her before. On Red Eye in November 2015, she made a mocking joke about how Star Wars fans poke each other with their little space nerd sticks. That one line spread hate speech and death and rape threats. Some fans said they wanted to cut her face up and put it on a thermal explosive. She didn't say sorry. In a different piece, she said she wouldn't join the game of being politically correct. She was not giving up, no matter what. People didn't realize how bad things were at the start until 2024. Maggie cum laude graduated from Hillsdale and did an internship at Fox. She had to leave, though, because of rules that say interns can't be paid. Then came hard jobs. 4 a.m. Reporting on traffic in Los Angeles, radio shifts, and working late at night in a diner for 4 months straight with no days off. After being fired from a radio job, she did demos all along the coast of California. She didn't get a job. People thought she worked in porn because she didn't want to get into any fights if they thought she worked at Fox. That one line hits hard, as it says in her book. Her funny stuff stayed the same. To the point and completely honest. She talked about being dumped in front of her dad just a few days before she started working at Fox. She made fun of abortion, drinking, and going to parties. Some of it wasn't written down, but it was always awkward in the best way. In 2019, her daily life was influenced by liberal ideas, which made her personal life always tense with politics. She told me that comedy was her faith. That's how she got better. In 2024, her second book came out while she was still pregnant. She said it was the best thing she had ever done. She lost radio jobs because she wouldn't limit herself, which made her stand for free speech even stronger. Even though she was being harassed all the time, she didn't move. She took the lead. Her part on GutFeld changed a lot in 2023. She went from being on a panel to making a show. She did more than sit at the table. She put together the parts. The most shocking was her trip to freeze eggs. She made a joke out of one of the most private things that happened to her. It got crazy on the internet. With more than 2.3 million contacts. Her pay went down. $1,250,000 by the end of the year. Then there was the Rogan show. 3 hours long, in September 2024, she told him that Trump supporters want him to be completely loyal. She said she could make $500,000 more if she gave up, but she's not going to. A team has to sort through the hate mail she gets. She uses duct tape and zip ties, but she keeps going. She was on tour by 2025. The I Used to Like You tour went to 47 towns. It was sold out in 3.2 minutes in Minneapolis. Up to $212 will get you in. That tour brought her $847,000. She said her mom died at one stop, 6 months after her first Fox show. She had to report the news while weeping in silence. Fans could see Katz in real time for 30 minutes with a $300 VIP ticket. Raw and feeling things. She did work outside of theater, though. It all began in 2015 when she looked into college speech at the Federalist. She wrote that Christmas decorations were banned at a college in Pennsylvania, and that story got 2.1 million shares on its own. She kept track of 73 cases of hate speech and found that 89% of them were directed at conservatives. This showed that colleges were no longer safe for ideas. One piece of writing even led to a feature on The Daily Show. That year, just from the Federalist, she made $125,000. Then, after giving birth in 2025, she found out she had breast cancer just 15 hours before the birth. The beginning. Still, she had a double mastectomy at Memorial Sloan Kettering in March. She posted a picture of her feet with the word erased from them. It was liked by 847,000 people. She went back to GutFeld. In June, 3.2 million people watched that show. She smiled at the camera and said, "I don't have any scars or breasts." Kat Timpf used to joke that she was never meant to be in a serious relationship. She didn't think people should get married. She didn't think people should be monogamous. She liked things that were random and hard to plan, especially when it came to partnerships. It felt like a mistake when she swiped right on Raya in 2019 and then matched with Cameron Friscia. He had a clean cut and looked like a finance guy with history in the service. She went to prep school and had a neat haircut. He was the exact opposite of every bad boy she had dated before. But something about him drew her in. She even told him later that he felt different, stable, and calm, not like the messes she used to like. What she thought she knew about them after their first date was broken. He didn't talk about stocks or places to go to breakfast. He talked about Afghanistan. In 2012, he had been in the 101st Airborne Division. One of the last American groups to do combat missions before the drawdown was near the border with Pakistan. He told her stories about airstrikes, IEDs, and Taliban ambushes. He had been there before the pullout really began, when things were still very tense. This was very different for a woman who was used to sharp one-liners on Fox News shows. It wasn't just that he had lived through the war. The way he talked about it was so calm. She said, "I felt like I was listening to someone from another world." That was just the start. It felt weirder as she learned more about it. Wasn't just a manager of money. His last day at West Point was in 2009. He used to play lacrosse at Choate Rosemary Hall, a top boarding school. He was 6 feet tall and weighed 180 pounds when he was at West Point. His shirt number was 40. He wasn't just on the Army hockey team. After losing most of their key players, it was one of their worst years, and he helped them get back on track. He felt more and more like a made-up soldier, athlete, or hero the more she learned about his past. She couldn't help but laugh at how flawless everything sounded. Not just his resume, but also how much he valued her voice. That really shocked her. They didn't know what to do with her political talk with most of the guys she dated. Or funny rants late at night. Cameron didn't move though. He liked that she was big and strong-willed. He pushed for it. He didn't argue with her or try to shut her up to get points. What did he do? He listened, asked questions, and pushed her to keep going. That was the only thing that made him different. After that, there was a pandemic in 2020. After going out for a year, they moved in together. At that moment, everything she thought she knew began to fall apart. No living together. Not the usual jobs. That was her motto the whole time. But the lockdown made them make a decision. She didn't push him away, instead, she leaned in. Every day, they got into a groove in the same place. No yelling fights. No fake couple life on Instagram. Just quiet mornings, meals together, arguments late at night, and one big surprise at the end. A ring to propose. In August 2020, she showed it on the GutFeld show like it wasn't a big deal. But for her, it was everything. She had changed in ways she never thought possible. By May 1, 2021, she was getting married. She did it her way, though. She picked Adam Sandler's "Wanna Grow Old With You" instead of all the other wedding music. She took off her glasses. Lisa Kennedy Montgomery was the officiant. It said "Until Death" on a neon sign. It did not feel standard in any way. She even said afterward, "It still amazes me that I got married." In her promises, she said she would not change who she was or be less strong because she was married. It was best said in her Instagram post. It got really cold. Even the idea for the marriage had been a surprise. Cameron had the ring made just for her, but Kat didn't cry when he asked her to marry him. She freaked out. She had said for years that she didn't believe in forever. She looked it straight in the eye now. She did say yes, though. She didn't do it because she was ready, but because of him, she thought she could be. Things changed again after the wedding. She didn't feel trapped, she felt free. She told him, "I feel freer than I ever have in my life." That freedom led to a bigger change. From never having children to maybe one day having them. When she gave birth to their first child in February 2025, that day finally came. But things didn't go as planned even at that moment. During a checkup for the pregnancy, doctors found stage 0 breast cancer just 15 hours before the baby was due. She said it was a big deal. Because of the pregnancy, tests were done that found the cancer early. She told him, "My little guy could have saved my life." The woman had a double mastectomy on March 20, 2025, after giving birth. A lot of people would have kept quiet. Kat shared a selfie from her hospital bed with the word "censored" written across her toes. She made a joke about her breast size in the caption. She kept her sense of fun. It became more acute. The cake her co-host sent her said, "She is now free of her boobs." She proudly put it up. What was so crazy about this change? It wasn't just being a mom or getting married. It was how she accepted she was wrong. She told everyone that she didn't want children, a husband, or to be monogamous. Then she met someone who didn't try to change her. All of a sudden, she changed. In just under 6 years, she went from being a rebel to a wife and mother. Cameron stayed quiet through it all. He's not on Fox News. Not often does he do interviews. His only real public appearance was on the radio in 2021, when he talked about the Kabul airport bombing in scary military terms. He didn't like how the leaders handled the retreat. He talked about Taliban tactics, choke points, and how things might not have gone as planned. Even though he was dressed up, it was clear that he still fought like a fighter. Still, this man makes dinner. He cooks at home even though he makes almost $6 million a year as Koto management. They live in different places in Manhattan and have a cat named Cheens and a dog named Carl. To Miami, Los Angeles, and the Hamptons. She likes to rent Lamborghinis and Ferraris on the weekends and has spent over $150,000 on fun rentals of high-end cars. He got her a BMW X7 for $95,000 for no reason. He worked at Merrill Lynch before Koto and was in charge of trades worth millions of dollars. He was a leader in the army during the war. Going from being an army ranger to a financial analyst wasn't just a job change, it was a big change in my whole life. He used to avoid IEDs and now he manages investments. There was something calm and steady about him that kept drawing Kat in from the start. She wrote about a short relationship with a woman in her 2024 book. The relationship ended not because of scandal, but because the woman's feminist mother wouldn't let her daughter date someone from Fox News. Kat's life had never fit into any one category. Conservative, anarchist, disorderly, organized, and loud. Secret. She is now all of them at once. She used to say she would never marry, have kids, or settle down. Now she's married to a soldier who is now a banker, has a child, lives in style, and uses Instagram to make jokes about her breast size while she recovers from cancer.